Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room. I know it's not Halloween. Alright, that's long past. But when it came to my Halloween videos, I ran out of time and I couldn't upload everything I wanted to. So that's why I'm uploading them past Halloween. But if you stop and look at it like this, at some point in time, it's gonna be Halloween time again, October. So somebody eventually will stumble upon my videos and watch it around Halloween time. So yeah, and I'm here today to talk to you about The Strain, Season 2. So, The Strain is one very, very, very unique vampire series. It deals with mythology and also science, and I like that. I like how they combine the two. It's something you rarely really see in like vampire genres. Normally it's one or it's the other. And so, like, but every once in a while, you do see that hybrid, and that's always nice. That's always like, I don't know, like zombies, you can really go with the whole scientific approach. It's always best to do that. But with vampires, you can go either way. And it's always fun to combine the two. And The Strain is a very unique one where instead of vampires just biting somebody and sucking blood, and then they suck your blood, and then you turn into a vampire, this deals with the worms. Yes. And the vampires have a very unique look. I've already talked about season 1, and I've already talked about one episode in season 1 called Creatures of the Night. Go find that on my channel. But if you need a good visual, think of Blade 2, with the vampires, like, jaws open wide and there's a long tongue stinger. That's these vampires. Why? Because the same man who directed Blade 2, along with Chuck Hogan, created this series. I still cannot pronounce that man's name. Guillermo del Toro del Rio, I think his name is. He is the one who created this series, and it's a very, very fascinating series that lasted for 4 seasons on FX back in the day. It is canceled now, and it is available on Hulu, and you can also buy it on DVD. When I first watched this series, I started with season 3 when it was on television, and I fell in love within the first couple of minutes of episode 1 of season 3. And so not much has really changed with this series going forward in season 2. It's just more building on of what we know in season 1. We get more like flashback backstory with Serzakian. We get to see him meet Palmer for like the first time. We have Inf and Nora trying to find like a cure at first, but now they're trying to create that of like a super virus to infect that of the vampires. Zach has now been recast. The actor who played him in season 1 is no more, and now we got a brand new actor. Why? It's never been explained. But this new actor, he's constantly pissed off looking, because that is the mood of Zach. Zach is going through a very, very dark place in season 2 and in the rest of the series because of the loss of his mother from season 1, who got turned into a vampire towards the end. We get just slight backstory into that of Dutch. Dutch is really going through it in season 2 in terms of who she loves and everything, and something terrible happens to her towards the end. Fit, not much is going on with him other than his relationship with Dutch. And so we get one little backstory into like that of like, the Nazi German like vampire dude. And so, but we also get to find out how Sarzakian got his cane. And also throughout this entire season, now they're looking for an ancient vampire book. So that is his main goal for the season. As always, Gus doesn't really interact with the rest of the characters. He is still like on his own doing his own thing, which is strange and bizarre because it's kind of like, he's just there in the show and he's doing his own thing. And I don't know why he doesn't really interact with the rest of the characters. I don't know why they wrote him like that. And so, like, he's doing his thing. Palmer has like found love in their thing, so that's really interesting this season. And we find out just how much more influence he has over the city. The city has finally now come to the realization of, or the whole state of realization of like vampires. It's like divided into three cities of that of New York: Staten Island, Manhattan, and Red something. I don't know much of anything about New York. Um, I'm pretty sure this show is filmed in Canada, but it might be filmed in New York. I have to go look and everything. 'Cause I know this one actor I saw here. He's a Canadian actor. So I'm just kind of like, that's interesting that they fly him out to America just to film this. I'm just kind of like, I don't know, man. Plus, not only that, but when you watch Broad City, because like I'm not from New York, so but when you watch Broad City and you see what what real New York look like, I'm just kind of like, okay, this show don't look like that and stuff. Um, but yeah, it was cool to see how Sarzakian got his cane, and like the journey he went through with that. We also get to see like the master and everything, and if he really survived from season one or not. And we get introduced again to the ancient ones and their purpose in the show, even though it's brief. And we get introduced to a brand new character that I knew from season three that I was surprised wasn't in season one and much of season two. Quillian, and he is a very unique vampire. He is the only vampire who can walk around in the day. He think of him as like Blade. He was born, I believe, he was it's weird because like male vampires don't have a wee wee. And so how exactly was he conceived? Probably before his wee wee dropped. The male vampire, that is, his father. Because like I said before, male vampires, they lose their wee wee. So maybe when the male vampire first got infected, he banged a woman, and then Quillian was like born from that of a vampire and a slash human. So he is able to walk around during the day. And he has been around for centuries, and he has a very cool looking sword that has the handle of that of a long bone, and but his sword still not as cool as like Sarzakian's cane slash sword that has a curved wolf handle made of like silver and stuff. That's just a cool sword. But the city is very now aware of vampires, and they are getting into the fight. And it's cool to see the city people like, getting involved, like law enforcement, National Guard, and even the people themselves. They're not gonna let the vampires take over. But like I said before, this does last for 4 seasons. And sadly, one main cast member will die and everything. We also get like a new breed of like vampires. It is very disturbing how they was made. I was all like, where is this going? Visually, it looks cool. And wow, I'm actually learning a little something about blind people a little bit, and like a school for them. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, what is going on? And then when you find out what happened, you're just like, oh my God, this show is that dark. To do that to a bunch of kids, boy, and blind kids at that, let me tell you, and I was just like shocked. But one thing I wish this series had was more action, more vampire hunting this season. It kind of doesn't. It's mostly just like explanation and filler, but it's good explanation and filler. It's good dialogue. Like here's the cool thing about this show. You're never bored with the dialogue. Like never. No matter how much people talk, it's never long-winded and it keeps you engaged. That's my problem with like the CW. The CW has like so many like long-winded speeches and like everything else, and it's just kind of like, come on, man, like get some edginess to your like dialogue. But this show always has edge to their dialogue, which is always nice. And man, it's just like this season, it's just like I really like enjoy like the drama that like went on with it, because it's like, even though I would have loved more action and I would have loved to see more vampires, it was cool seeing the journey of what they had to go through to like try to stop these vampires. Everything they try just gets kind of like squashed a bit, you know what I'm saying? And when you constantly keep failing, it's like, crap, dude, like what you gonna do? There are like vampires coming everywhere and stuff. And so you just want to give up. And that one console lady, she wanted to give up so badly, this new character who got introduced. But like, that one cop told her, well, we can get you out of here since you just want to run and cower and everything. But you sent these men down there to die, and you was all like you was gonna like fight with them, but here you is wanting to leave. And it's the honest to God truth. It's kind of like, because they have their backs up against the wall. There's constantly vampires everywhere. And you think you have this great plan only to see it be like crap. They are like one step ahead and everything. But you have to keep fighting through. That's the like only thing you really can, you know what I'm saying? And so with this season, it picks up a few weeks after the first. Not sure how many weeks, they don't say, but they never say a month. And so the team has now relocated to the Exterminators dude place. Zach is still reeling from like his mom turning into a vampire, and he is constantly in a bad mood. He rarely smiles. That's probably why they recast him, because this dude has a better like resting bee face and everything, whereas the other kid just looked too sweet and innocent. Okay, I'm gonna try to say the creator's name again. Guillermo del Toro. I don't know how to say that dude's name, but Chuck Hogan I can say. And I really appreciate what they created. Like this was really interesting. And so, they're still reeling from that. We have Thomas Erich, the German dude. He's still doing like, what he does and stuff. Bribing people, trying to do things for the master. The master was wounded from that of the finale of season 1. He was wounded so bad, he now has to transfer his body. And so we see like, one of the first time, well, not really the first time, one of the times back in the day, and when he switched bodies and stuff. And so basically, we go back in time very far. There's like this giant man who's probably about 7 foot tall. He has the wolf cane that turns into a sword. And the appearance of the cane is the same. It's just a lot longer because this man's a lot taller. And so like, this man was out camping with his brother and some friends, and they was hunting vampires. Well, the vampires get the jump on them and they attack all the men. The master at that time used to be really skinny. And this might have been the first time. This might just be the first time he transferred his body to another. And who's telling this story? Sarzakian's mother, as he's a little boy. So this was around like 1930s, 20s, something like that, before the war and everything. And so his mother is telling him the story of how this man was turned by like a vampire and how he used to always walk with his cane. And so like how did Master transfer his essence into another? He holds the mouth open of his next victim. He puts soil in his mouth that has the worms. Then, in the most disgusting but cool way, he regurgitates and throws up in his victim's mouth. What exactly is the throw up? The pussy, gooey blood of the master that has his power, and also thousands and hundreds of worms just flowing in this person's mouth. It's gross, it's disgusting, but it's cool at the same time. Then next thing you know, the former body of the master dies and everything, and rises up is the new. And so master has literally had this body for over 70 years, but now it's been half burnt because of like Sarzakian. And so sunlight did hurt him. It just didn't kill him like he had hoped in season one. And so we don't really see the giant body that much for a very long time. And so like, remember the rock and roll singer from last season who looked like a vampire automatically, but was never one, just wore makeup and a wig and stuff? He's back, and turns out that the master allowed him to have his memories and all this other stuff, right? So he's similar to Irish. And so the master wants to transfer his soul into a new. Irich thinks that it's him because he's the master loyal subject. But oh no, he wants the rock and roll singer whose body's more younger and stronger and all this other stuff, which pisses off Irich and stuff and disappoints him. And so the master transfers his essence into him. And so we find out from the ancient ones. Remember that military group that the military vampires that like kidnapped Gus and everything? Turns out they work for the ancient ones. The ancient ones are vampire elders who sleep a lot. They're naked and they wear clothes and they're on these little like gurney bed type things. And so like they speak telepathically to the head, like, you know, military vampire dude. And so they talk to Gus and they want him to be their champion to fight during the day because they want to kill that of the master. It turns out that there are 6 of them, but there used to be a 7th. Who is the 7th? The master. He went rogue and everything. And so whenever the ancient ones wake up, that's when they feed. So Gus and Sarzakian are there because they kidnapped him. Because they want to work together, because they want the man, you know, who hurt like the master. So Sarzakian, he has heard of the ancient ones, but he never knew, like, you know, they existed. And they tell him they need him to find this book called the Loomis something 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 whatever. It's a giant book made of silver. The cover is made of silver and stuff. And it's an ancient book that literally in the hands of the wrong person could destroy the world with vampires and stuff. And, you know, it's always said whoever holds on to the book has a cursed soul and stuff like that. And so they see the ancient ones feed on like a man. Who is this man? Is he good? Is he bad? Is he just a victim? Don't know. And the way they feed is like weird and disturbing. They like, you know, hop off their little beds and they start slashing and gashing the man and they start sucking them with their tongue. And it's very disturbing, especially since they're naked. Now, the costumes they wear, I know it's supposed to be old, wrinkly skin, but it just look like they're wearing like a leather jacket or a bodysuit, I should say. But it's supposed to give the appearance of like wrinkly, dried up, like, you know, thousands of years worth of skin. So I don't know, they could have made it look a little better, maybe a little like shinier, but I don't know, it's all right. It just looks like a leather bodysuit. And so like that's their purpose in this season. And so like, Sarzakian, let's get back to him and his cane. So Sarzakian's only purpose is to find the book this season, and he is bent on like finding it. But he's weak from his battle in the last season, so he has to rejuvenate himself. And so like we see him do a strange thing. We see him leave and be gone for like the entire day. And he finds a vampire, chops his head off. There are a lot of head choppings off in this season. If Highlander, the television series, were to be made today, oh, we would see some heads rolling. Because in that show, you never saw that. You saw it in the movies, but never in the TV show. And so, um, he takes some worms and everything. So it's like, what the world is he gonna do with them? We see him go back to Finn's like lab or home or whatever. He goes down into like the basement type area. We see him like boiling and crushing the worms and like watery goo. Then he puts them in an eyedropper. Then he drops them in his eye. It's like, what the world's going on? But then he collapses on the ground and there's blood coming from his eye. Nora finds him and she restarts his heart because his heart had stopped. And so he tells her, do not tell nobody what I'm about to tell you. But he tells her, like, he's like 90 something years old and he was around before like the World War II. And he tells her, haven't you ever wondered how old I am and how I'm able to still fight and everything like that? It's because he takes the worms, he injects them in his eyes, and it kind of rejuvenates him, gives him strength to fight for a couple more years and stuff. It's similar to what Palmer did when he drank the blood of the master and was healed and stuff. And it makes Sarzakian a bit of a hypocrite. He wants these vampires dead. He hates them. They ruined his life, but yet he feeds off them and everything to stay alive. So he's strong enough to kill the master. That is like his only goal. And he tells her he's gonna keep doing this, even if he goes into some type of demonic underground, like for like tearing up his soul. He doesn't care as long as he kills the master and ends all this and stuff. And it's just really weird because it's kind of like, why not just drink it like Palmer did? But maybe he doesn't know that. And how did he know that injecting it in his eye will work and crushing up the worms? So that's never really explained. But she keeps it secret and everything. And so he still is grumpier as ever, man. And I mean, he is grumpy. That's why I love this character, man. Like, it's the dude who played Filch in like the Harry Potter movies. I never thought that man was a good actor when he was in Harry Potter, only because of how silly he was. But boy, when you give him his own series, he lets people know he is an actor and everything. Old as this dude is, he is still acting till this day, popping up in everything. And so like we see the backstory of him and like his cane. So when he was a professor and his wife was still alive at that time, because remember we saw him lose his wife when he had his cane, but this is before those events. And Palmer comes to him as a young man in a wheelchair, and we even see Fitzwilliam, his main bodyguard, the black dude from last season, as a younger version. And so like he tells like what's his name, Sarzakian, that he's gonna continue to fund his research and like findings and like school and stuff like that if he would help him track down certain items. Now at this time Palmer was a good man and wasn't evil yet, and so like that's very fascinating. And it's fascinating they knew each other when they was younger and stuff. And so he tells him he's looking for a certain cane that he believes belongs to that of a vampire known as, like, the master. But of course, the master doesn't use this cane no more because, like, it has silver and this and that. And so, like, at first he wants to deny it, but he decides to do it. His wife doesn't want him to do it, but he goes looking for it anyway. He heads over to Europe, I believe maybe London or something like that, where he starts tracking down the whereabouts of the sword, because it has passed through person to person since the master got rid of it and stuff when he went into his new body. And so, like, he tracks it down to an antique shop owner. And he tells the man he's looking for rare items during the war or before the war and stuff or whatever. And so the man takes him into like a secret like room inside the antique place. Now the antique dude is German. And so when he goes there, like, there's all kind of like German knots stuff, you know what I'm saying? And so like he's looking and he sees the cane. He's all like, how much is that? And so the shop owner starts telling him of like, the legend of like the cane. And but then Sarzakian says something that catches the attention of the shop owner. He's all like, you shorten it. He's all like, it used to be a lot longer than that because of the man who used to have it was very tall. And the man's all like, you sure know a lot about this thing, but it is not for sale. I have another buyer and everything. He's all like, I'll pay double. But the man won't give it to him. And then Sarzakian looks at him. He's all like, you don't remember me, do you? He's all like, no. He's all like, you used to be a doctor working for Hitler and everything. And you used to experiment on like my fellow like cellmates and everything, pour turpentine and well inject them with turpentine and everything and see them like spaz out. Boy, the Jewish people went through a lot during those days, I tell you. And the man's all like, that's not my real last name. And I'm just like, a shop owner. He's like, oh, no, I remember you. Don't you remember my number tattooed in my skin? And he's all like, you're that doctor, man, who experimented on us. That old man took that cane and vaulted. So Zarzakian, he's like chasing after him. This man runs for a long, long way. They run through buildings. They're running past people. When the man leaves the building, he trips and he drops the cane, but he jumps in the back of somebody's truck. And so Sarzakian now has that legendary cane that he has with the silver wolf curved handle. And so like the doctor shop owner dude, he goes back to his shop and there's Idris. And he's all like, I need your help and everything. Like, that man who was like a prisoner and everything, he recognizes me. And this is back during the time when the war was over, and if you was discovered as like, working for the bad guys, oh, you would be in prison and stuff. So he's all like, I need money and I need papers to get out the country. And so like Erich, who's already now a vampire, he's all like, he got turned when Sarzakian escaped. He's all like, how would you like to be ruled by a new leader and a visionary one and all this, talking about the master? He's like, sure, I'd love to go back to the glory days and everything. And then bam, like that huge like sucker tongue stinger thing comes out. I don't know if he turned the doctor dude or he just ate him. It is never revealed. So he's out the picture. And so Sarzakian then, goes back to Palmer and he's all like, good, now I need you to find this ancient book and everything. And it is the Loomis and everything. And so he goes, I don't know where he goes, but he goes to like this monastery, like this thing for monks. And there's a little boy who's dressed in monk clothes in the church. And he's all like, boys all like, my father burnt my ear to wash away the demon. Boy, there was some crazy people back then. When they talking about, oh, you possessed by the devil, so let me burn your skin off. People was weird back then, man. People was weird. So anyway, Sarzakian, he goes down into like, the catacombs of like the church and whatever and stuff, and he starts killing the vampires left and right as the boy is down there, like, scared out his mind, and the boy flees. And so like, but they can't find the book. While this is going on, Palmer, with a dagger in his hand, ready to fight off the vampires, still in a wheelchair, is greeted by that of the master. And he's all like, how would you like to be stronger than ever, to leave that wheelchair and all this other stuff? And this is when Palmer turns. When Sarzakian comes back, Palmer tells him, our working relationship is over. I'm no longer funding your stuff. And this is when Palmer goes down that path of working for the master. And so, of course, we know what happens after that from season one. When Sarzakian is down in the well trying to kill the master, Irish is there murdering his family and stuff. And so now Sarzakian is looking for the book. And he goes to one location and one person after another. He meets with like that gangster from last season, the black one who shot at Gus and Gus stole his money, who brought the vampires over in a crate. He goes to him, is all like, I heard like, you're a type of person who has certain antique type things. And the dude's all like, nah, I ain't got it and stuff. And so like, he goes from like one location to another, to another, to another. And he goes to like this church. And this type of like pastor, pope looking dude is there, and the cardinal. And so like, he's all like, I will buy this book from you for however much money you want. And the dude's all like, I want certain thousand, like something or another worth in gold pieces. And he's all like, I'll do it, but it'll take me like a day to get it and stuff. And he's all like, you better hurry because I have another buyer and everything. And of course, it's Palmer. And he tells this man, you can't let him have the book. There's too much evil and stuff. So he goes and he fit, and he's all like, I ain't got no money and gold to give that man. We're just going to steal that book before like Palmer does. And so, but Irich gets there first and drains that dude. When Fitz and like, Sarzakian get there, the pastor dude, cardinal, what you call him, is like dying. He tells him, with your last breath, just tell me who has the book. And so like, he tells him, and he is the boy he saved from many years ago. This boy is now a grown man. And so now he starts looking for this boy. But there's other people who have a name similar to him. So they go to house looking and stuff. When he finally gets to that one dude's house, oh, he also takes out the cardinal because dude's turned into a vampire. So anyway, when he finally finds the boy, well, now that's a grown man, he finds his home, but he's not there. And he searches that dude's entire place until he gets mad and hits the floorboard. But it starts like jumping back and forth, like wobbling and stuff. He knows it's a fake department, it's a fake like panel. So he pries it open, he finds the book. It's glorious looking, it's huge, it looks like an ancient book, and the cover is made of like hard silver and stuff, but it looks kind of plasticky when you open it and touch it. It's like, they should have did a better job. And so it has all this stuff back in the olden days of vampires and all this other stuff. And all of a sudden, somebody knocks him over the head. It is the man who used to be the boy that he rescued, ties up Sarzakian. And he's all like, this book would be worth a lot of money to certain people. And he's like, look, man, whatever, I'll pay it. I'll double it, like whatever. He's like, no, I bet I can find somebody else. And so he's all like, fool, I saved you years ago, and you're about to bring on some type of like vampire apocalypse worse than what it is now. But he doesn't care. This boy, like, how can you do that? Like, the man saved him when he was little from the vampire, and now he just wants to make a quick buck. And so he leaves him there. And so like, the person he takes the book to is that black gangster dude from season 1 that Sarzakian went to in season 2. And everything. He's all like, I need money and papers to get out of town and blah, 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 and stuff like that. And he's like, I want to see that book first. Anyway, Sarzakian, he frees himself from that man's place. Boy, what that man had to go through this season. Anyways, after he escapes there, he later goes to like gangster dude Kareem, and because like he now has the book and everything. So Sarzakian wants the book, but he's all like he's gonna have to bid for it because the gangster dude ain't gonna give it to him, but he wants tons of money in gold, and he also knows that he has a buyer in Palmer. So Sarzakian goes to that of Quillian, and he has the ancients give him all the gold so he can put in his bank account and all this other stuff. So it's time for the big bid, and Quillian, he came through with the ancients and stuff. It's funny, both like Sarzakian has a Swiss bank account. Them Swiss bank accounts. But he's surprised that Idris is there, because they didn't want Palmer to go there. And so they start bidding. And boy, it's up in the millions worth of gold. And that gangster dude is happy. But he tells them whoever has the highest dollar in their bank account gets the book. Well, it turns out to be Idris. So of course Sarzakian is upset until all of a sudden something happens to the bank account of the vampire dude. See, he got his money from Palmer. Him and Palmer had a huge argument, and Palmer's new girlfriend persuaded him to take the money back. To Idris' surprise, he is pissed. But with all them gangsters in there with a gun to his head, he ain't even gonna try nothing. So Sarzakian is now the owner of the Osido Uman and everything. I can't say that word. It's so hard to pronounce these words. It's Iumen and everything. But anyway, so he's now in possession of the book. Him and Fent, they're like driving off, but they get ambushed by a group of vampires. And so it's like over 50 vampires ready to take their behinds out. And next thing you know, here comes the gangsters from prison, courtesy of Gus. And they're with Quillian. So next thing you know, they're taking out all the vampires and everything. And Idris is trying to get to the car, but next thing you know, he's unable to get to it. Gus goes into their vehicle because Quillian told him he does not trust that of Sarzakian. Why? Because Sarzakian told him that once I study the book, you and the ancient ones can have the book and blah, blah, blah and stuff like that. But he lied. He's keeping the book for himself because he plans on killing all the vampires, even that of the ancients and stuff. And that's what Quillian feared because, the ancients didn't want Sarzakian to have the book. And so, when Gus goes in there, he sees a bomb's about to go off. But then he also sees there's a trap door in the vehicle. And below the trap door is a manhole covering the streets. So Sarzakian and Fent, they're heading down in the sewer. Next thing you know, boom, the entire vehicle explodes. But Gus survived because he went down in the sewers. When Gus comes out with Sarzakian, he's all like, man, I ought to shoot y'all for making me walk down in the sewer. Anyways, Quillian, he shows up and he has super speed. And so it's just Fent and Gus with guns pointing to each other's head. And Sarzakian lets him know, you shoot me, then Fitz is going to shoot you. But no matter what, I am going to survive this, and I refuse to die until I kill all the vampires. So they come to an agreement. They're all now going to work together. Fent does not like this idea as they're on a stolen boat ferry. Or just a stolen boat, I think. Not a ferry, but it's a stolen boat. And Fent tells him, look, man, we got 2 gangbangers on our boat. We have a hybrid vampire. We can't trust these people. And so next thing you know, the show ends with Sarzakian reading from the book and monologuing, talking about in order to defeat the master and the vampires, we must do things that we, never thought we would do. And we have to fight dirty and all this other stuff and blah, blah, blah. It's a great speech. This man can deliver a monologue. Seriously, like a long time ago when he was in Harry Potter, I was never a fan because his character was so mean and his character was so goofy and his character was barely in the movies. So I just assumed the dude just wasn't no good actor until this show. My God, it has changed my mind on how this man act. And seriously, like this man's a great actor and everything. Let's get to Palmer. Palmer has really only a few story arcs in this season. The main one is his love interest, a woman named Coco, who is his assistant. A 30-something-year-old woman who's like from France, but speaks with an American accent, and she is gorgeous, and he is in love. She's a whole lot younger than him. And she just starts off as an assistant. She don't know anything about the vampires until she finally does. So Gus and the vampire like security guard, task force, they go there to, stop Palmer and all this other stuff. And so, but Palmer is prepared. He did not ever tell none of the vampires that he actually has UV lights installed into his entire building, a trap door inside with like UV lights all on the wall and UV lasers and stuff. Needless to say, them vampires burnt. But of course, the master can see through their eyes as well. And so the master informs that of Idris and stuff. And Idris all like, I didn't know you had all that. What else are you not telling us? Well, anyways, I've already told you like how Palmer met Sherzakian back in the day and the master persuaded him to fight for him. Palmer has been funding everything for Zarzakian and stuff. Not Zarzakian, but the master and the vampires. He wants to be like the master's equal and everything, business partner and stuff. And he wants to be turned into one so he can be strong and powerful and never have to be put back in a wheelchair again. And so like he has control of a lot. He the head of like the CDC is works for Palmer. The Mayor Lau, works for Palmer as well and stuff. This was very shocking when I found that out. And because I was not expecting that whatsoever. And so he's pulling all the strings and everything. Well, when he sends an assassin after F and everything, F has enough, and F decides he's gonna assassinate Palmer because F had came up with like a viral agent that can affect the vampires, and now that's gone and stuff. So F like buys a rifle, and him and Dutch, they go out to assassinate Palmer. F is a terrible shot. There's one scene where he's trying to take out Idris, and he's just like, he's a terrible shot. Let's just put it like that. If somebody was standing directly in front of you, he would still miss. Unless it's a pistol. He can work a pistol, but he can't work a rifle. So we see him lined up like Palmer, like with the scope and everything, and he still missed. Who did he hit? Coco, the girlfriend of Palmer. So Palmer's all upset. He's like, his surgeons are doing the best they can, but he begs that of Idris to talk to the master to save Coco, but he refuses. And then he tells Idris that if the master don't do this, that's it. You're getting no more money from me. And of course, he's going to use all his resources to take out the vampires. So the master shows up. He gives her a drink of blood, and she's back now. At this point in time, she knew of the vampires from like, the laser light show that Palmer had. And so like, but she started out with just like a rinky-dink assistant. And of course she was only hired because she's hot. And so he fell in love with her. She knew this and she fell in love with him back. Because she knew with him, boy, she'll get all that money. And so when Idris starts pissing off that Palmer, she starts to persuade Palmer, talking about, there'll be nothing without you. You should take all your money back and blah, 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 and stuff like that. So Palmer does that when it comes to buying the Ocedo, like Lumen and everything. And so, like, this of course pisses off the master because now Sarzakian has possession of the book, and the book has the ability. If you read its secrets, it can destroy like the vampire's master and all kind of other stuff. You know what I'm saying? It has their weaknesses all up in there. And so the master is pissed by this. And he showed, well, before this all happens, Idris tell Palmer, do as we say, or no more white blood for you. And so, cause he tells him, cause we already knew this from Sarzakian, the effects of like the master's white, like pussy blood, it don't last. So both Palmer and Coco has to keep taking drops every couple of months and stuff. And so this is when he gives, Idris the money until Coco stupidly tells him to take it back. Well, the master ain't having that. Master shows up, drained her dry, didn't even turn her, just like killed her and everything. And so, like, of course, Palmer is pissed and devastated. And what does he do? As like, the worms are all inside her body, he takes out her heart and puts it in a jar, similar to what Sarzakian did to that of his wife and stuff. And so, like, Palmer even told Sarzakian, I still got your wife's heart on my mantle and blah 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 blah. Just rubbing it in, like just a nasty man. But boy, he got his karma and stuff. Now Idris, he's the Knots vampire dude who hates Sarzakian. And basically his role is the same as first season. He's the loyal subject of that, or servant of the master. He assumes that the master is going to transfer his essence into him, and it would have been a great honor, but he chooses the rock and roll singer instead, to his disdain. And so, like, he is using Palmer's money to construct cages with hooks on the outside. And the worker has no idea what these cages are for. He knows they're for an animal, but he don't know what kind of animal. Well, Idris lies and says it's sheep. It's actually for humans. They're planning something huge, and I mean huge. Idris helps that of Kelly regain her human look as she tries to find Zach and everything, because she turned into a vampire, and the master gave her back her consciousness and stuff. Idris decides to give her a group of children and stuff. Well, he calls the children of the night. He kidnaps a bunch of blind kids and turns them into vampires, making them her, like, little army and everything. They're quicker and faster than the adult vampires. Well, we get a backstory into Idris when he loved a woman back in the day. He used to be a vacuum cleaner. No, he used to be a radio salesman, selling radios. Well, he sold one to this woman, but then the husband came in and was all like, we don't get this much money, and I don't want one. He rips the paper up. Idris was just a wimp of a man back in the day, and a terrible salesman, and even his colleagues made fun of him. Well, he liked this one secretary lady. He asked her out. On the date, there was a Nazi soldier. Nazi is my way of saying Nazi, just because, YouTube is the way it is. Anyway, the soldiers giving his speech, and Idris, at that time, who was human, was all like, I like what this man is saying. So he joined, like, the wrong side and everything. And one day, he's called into the office of, like, his superior. And he's all like, this woman. Actually, before that, before he joined, he said he was gonna join, and that woman's all like, "Well, I'm Jewish, right?" He's all like, but Hitler doesn't hate like German Jewish people. He only hates the others and everything." Yeah, right. So anyway, she's in the office with them, and apparently her family got captured. So she's all like, I know a man who's like one of your soldiers and he can vouch for me and blah, 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 blah. So his superiors are like, is she telling the truth? Are you affiliated yourself with our like enemy and everything? He's all like, no, she is lying and everything. So when he leaves, he sees her body hung with her family, and it breaks his heart. because she is the one who got away because, you know, he didn't want himself to die. Then he does something completely terrible to Dutch. I'll get into that when I talk about Dutch. Fit, his role is to be Sarzakian's right hand man, taking out the vamps. Basically, when he finds out Sarzakian has these like explosive with silver in it, he uses them a lot to like, you know, blow up and kill like vampires. Him and Dutch are constantly going out to like, you know, hunt down vampires. Well, him and Dutch are getting more and more acquainted and stuff, to the point where when the silver exploded, got on her clothes. She takes a dip in the pool, naked and everything, and we see Fitz naked man booty. It's God. I did not want to see that. I did not want to see that. So in a way, they start doing it, and they're now in a relationship. Well, it turns out, as they're patrolling one day, they see some missing flyers of that one girl who Dutch was dating in season 1, who was at the convenience store, who left her there to die. So Dutch now priority is to find this girl. They go to the lady's mother's house, and next thing you know, after that, they go to Dutch's apartment, and there is the girl hiding out there. And Dutch is first furious, talking about, you know, you left us, you took my money, all this other stuff, you took my laptop. And so, like, you assume she was working with the vampires, the like girlfriend, but she's not. And so Fit, he does not like um Dutch's ex-girlfriend. I think her name is Angie. So I'm just gonna call her Angie. He don't like Angie because of what she did at the convenience store. But then he is upset because Dutch is torn now between him and her and keep going back and forth. And it really hurts him and everything. And even when him and Dutch like sleep together, she's all like, you know, I'm gonna be with Angie. That's like my soulmate, and blah 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 blah. And it's just kind of like, well, dude. I mean, I know she's known Angie for a lot longer than him, but Fit has never abandoned Dutch. So he is beside himself and just heartbroken. So killing them vampires, you know, he gets to let off some steam and everything. Well, when Dutch is like, you know, about to be violated by Idris and everything, he comes in and he saves her. And next thing you know, after saving her, you still won't believe what happened. She still goes back and runs to Angie. I'm just like, Dutch is like a terrible person to him. And he has never done anything bad to her. And when her and Angie finally break up, he's already hanging out with Sarzakian, killing vampires and stuff. And so that's basically his whole role this entire season. So let's now get into Dutch. Dutch is just doing her thing, like I said, with that of, actually, I've already explained Dutch, to tell you the truth, because, well, I didn't really go into detail. So anyway, when they first go to Angie's mother's place, Angie's mother does not like Dutch. She's all like, you was a vampire to her way before like the actual vampire showed up. You drained her of her money, you drained her of her innocence, and she's all like, I don't even care about the gay thing no more, but I just don't like how you drain her of her soul and all this other stuff. So needless to say, Dutch does not get along with Angie's mother. And so when they go back to Dutch's place to get some supplies, they find Angie there. And Angie tells her, you know, after what happened at the convenience store, I got rid of your laptop because you had so much bad stuff on there. And I just been hiding out here. And Duchess is like, so you've been hiding out in my apartment this whole time. And you ditched my laptop, you took my money, and you never came looking for me. And so this pisses off Dutch and everything. But still, she is torn back and forth between Angie and that of Fit. So when Dutch's new friends don't really like Angie all that much, Angie just kind of like, why are you hanging out with these people? Why are you killing vampires? Like, we don't need, this ain't our battle. We need to just like ditch them and everything. Well, when the huge war came out with the people and the vampires, Dutch left Angie to fight the vampires. And next thing you know, when Dutch was about to get killed, Angie showed up and saved her and stuff. Well, at some point in time, Angie realizes that, you know what, See, what happened was Dutch said she'll be back, but Dutch was gone for like 2 days because something was going on with Dutch. So Angie decides she's going back home with her mom, and they're getting out the city. Dutch tries to stop her, but she's like, no, like, like this is not our fight with the vampires. You said you was going to, like, come back, but you never did, and it's been 2 days, and you always do that crap. You always say you're gonna come back, but you never do. Because Dutch ended up getting arrested. See, what happened was F went to go assassinate Palmer. And so he shot the assistant by mistake. So then when they tried to, like, run out, they almost got away until a cop recognized F from the roof. They get arrested, but next thing you know, Dutch is taken like away and everything. And so anyway, her and I'll get to that a little bit later. So her and Angie finally break up, and now she's like gone. But then this is why what happened to Dutch. See, when they were both arrested, she was taken away to a hotel. The hotel belongs to Idris and everything. It's his little place that we saw in season 1 when he does his makeup on his face, and his little chamber that he has on his victims. He's about to eat with the chain around the neck, and we see that of Dutch with a chain around her neck, slowly getting pulled forward, barefooted, struggling not to like get onto like the little headstand thing. When we see Idris just slowly dragging her, cranking up that wheel, pulling her towards him, he is about to eat her, or so we think. Then he brings in a cop, and then he eats the cop right in front of her. He doesn't turn the cop, he just eats him. And before he killed the cop, he gave him something to drink. He's all like, I just love a blood cocktail and everything. And so then next thing you know, he tells Dutch, like, you're so beautiful with your blonde hair and your perfume. She's all like, I don't wear perfume. He's like, it's your shampoo. It has the same scent of a woman I once loved back in the day. Then he starts to cut up pineapples and he gives them to Dutch. And Dutch just knocks him on the floor, and she's all like, you're seasoning me. Just like that blood cocktail. She's all like, I'm not eating no pineapple, so I taste like pineapple, blood pineapple. He gets aggressive, shoves her face down into the ground, and he tells her something, and then he forces her to eat the pineapple. As soon as he leaves like the room, she spits the pineapple out, and she is like terrified beyond belief. And so the rest of the people, they realize where she is when they rescue F from like prison and stuff. So anyway, they're on their way to rescue her, Nora, Fit, and F. And so like the cop that's still there, she's able to use her foot to get his pepper spray. When Idris come back in, he tells her, take off your pants. She's like, what? And he tells her straight up, take them off. And it's like, oh my God, what is he gonna do to her? She takes them off, and all she has is like a long shirt underneath, and she's wearing underwear. He tells her to bend over. And she's all like, you lost your wee 70 years ago when you turned into a vampire during the Holocaust and everything. And because that's what happened. I told you what happens to male vampires. They lose their thing, when they become vampires and stuff. And so, like, he tells her, oh, I have other ways of, like, I'm not even going to say that word. And so she bends over, terrified, and we see his jaws open wide and his little stinger tongue starts to slowly come out. I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, he is going to assault her with his vampire tongue that's 6 feet long, and she is bent over. It is a scary scene, and it's slowly building up. But she turns around, she sprays him in the face with mace, and it burns his eyes. After that, she's able to get like his keys and get the chain off her neck, and she just takes off running. But there's a problem. His hotel is like a maze and it's sealed off. All the windows are boarded up with brick. Certain corridors are boarded up with brick. When you run into one location, it's completely sealed off. Not only that, but there are nails on the floor in one part of the room. She sticks her foot with one. This is to leave a blood trail. He comes to, he is literally slowly stalking her, walking through like the hallways and stuff. She is desperately going in, like, down the stairs, up the stairs, like all, like, she's going up the stairs, like she's trying to get away from him, but he is slowly creeping up on her behind. While this is going on, the trio is now inside the hotel, going up the stairs, but there's a problem. To get to her is sealed off, and as she's about to make her exit, it's sealed off. She is on the ground crying, like, telling him to get away from her and everything. Like, she is just scared out of her mind, and he has had enough. He is gonna get himself some. And I'm just like, oh my god, this is like the scariest thing I've ever seen. This is a show about vampires, but this, like assault is about to be like the scariest thing ever. So when the trio hears her through the wall, Fit boy, he busts through the wall with his little his tire iron, and he just like puts an explosive there and blows it all up, and then they start shooting at Idris and everything as he escapes. They rescue her just in time. I mean, just in time. After that, she is shaken and she is broken. She is just like in his arms on the ride back, and she's a very strong, like, confident woman. Like, when she talks to you, she talks with such confidence, almost like in a seductive, like flirtatious kind of way, and she likes to conquer people. She said all that is gone now because she is broken. And then, like I told you before, after that she leaves Fit for Angie, only to have her heart broken and everything. Boy, this was like one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Quillian is a vampire hybrid. His father is not revealed in season 2, but I'll reveal it now because it's going to be a while before I see season 3. I have season 3 on DVD since my Hulu's going up very, very soon in about like 2 days. I'll tell you now, his father is the master and everything. And how exactly did the master make him when he has no wee is, I have no idea. But but he hates the master and wants his father dead because his father used to be an ancient one, but just turned rogue and everything. And so he has traveled the world for centuries and stuff. And he is the one who trained that special like task force of vampires. They trained Gus. He has an assistant who's a black woman who never really talks in the show. They always do their black people wrong in this like show, I swear to God. Like, how do you have Regina King in season 1 but do nothing with her and then get rid of her very early on? Like, seriously. Who is this black assistant lady? Who knows? Why does he have an assistant lady? Who knows? Because he can walk around during the day and he has a hoodie to consume his face. He is known as the Born. He is a day walker and everything. And his sword has a handle made of bone with carvings and imprints on them and stuff. And so basically, he recruits Gus to recruit that of an army for him. And they want the book. And of course, Tarzakian now has the book, and they make a deal with that of him. His role is a lot bigger in season 3. Augustus Gus, that gangster from season 1. Gus is a weird character. Weird in the sense that he's always doing things away from the main cast of characters. He rarely interacts with them. The only one he interacts with is Tarzakian twice and Fit towards the end. Other than that, I don't even think he's ever met F or Nora or Dutch. He's never met them and stuff. And it's gonna be a good while until a couple more seasons until he does meet them and stuff. He especially meets them in season 4. I think that's the first time he ever meets them, I believe. Well, and like It's weird. In season one, I could not stand his character. He is mostly responsible for the vampire apocalypse. He was a gangster. He was a thug. He did a lot of bad stuff in season one. The only person he ever loved was his mom, and she, of course, turned into a vampire. Well, now that he's forced to work with that of, like, the vampires and the ancients, they train him to take out the vampires. They teach him how to fight in hand-to-hand combat with guns. He literally can dodge the stinger and rip it out from their throat. And he doesn't understand why they're training him and stuff. He is pristinely gifted in killing vampires. And so, like, when they go to kill Palmer and stuff, his elite force is taken out by Palmer's like UV lights and stuff. He tries to save them but can't. After that, he just ditches the ancients and never goes back to them. He later finds this Indian restaurant where there are these three Indian people, a mother, father, and daughter, and they have this one Mexican dude working for them. The Mexican dude name is Angel. Angel used to be an actor. He used to do like telenovela type stuff, and he was like this wrestler who would like, fight monsters and vampires and all this other stuff until he hurt his leg in his last movie. After that, he just started working at that restaurant with a limp. And when Gus goes there to eat, I assumed he knew who Angel was, like friends or something like that, but he doesn't. But Angel is constantly giving Gus like the evil eye. Angel does not like gangsters, and he can tell that Gus is a gangster, and he doesn't want the boss's daughter hanging out with him. But she doesn't in a way because she likes her bad boys and everything. So after that, he recognized who Angel is by the fighting pose and the name. He's all like, "Oh, you used to be the Silver Angel back in the day. I used to love those movies." But Angel wants nothing with him. And then when like Gus is greeted by Quillian, he's all like, "You still work for me and the ancients and stuff." And he tells him, because he would hate for anything to happen to that family. And so in a way, Gus' now priority is to build an army and get that family out. He gets the family through the checkpoint with specialized papers and stuff, and that one black assistant of Quillian. And Angel's supposed to go with them, but Angel has now decided if Gus is going to stay to fight the vampires, he's going to need backup. So he's going to help him fight with a limp leg and everything. So where do they go to get the army? They go to prison. And when they go there, all the guards are gone except for one who's locked himself into a cell. He ain't ate for days, but Gus knows him. Gus is all like, I remember you used to turn the cameras off and turn your head. That's how I used to get jumped and everything. So he leaves him in the cell. And he goes and he frees the rest of the prisoners. And he tells them, "Look, man, I got this guy." And he said that if y'all work for him and fight these vampires and everything, then after that, whatever y'all want, y'all get. Like, y'all free. And you can take whatever you want in the city. So they agree. So he arms them with weapons and stuff. Well, he's gonna release the prison guard after all. Until one of the gangsters, who's his best friend, sees this dude and kills him. After that, his best friend's all like, "Look, man, I ain't taking orders from you just to go work for somebody else." So then next thing you know, I think, Angel takes him out with a shotgun. And he tells all of them, like, "Y'all want to be next, so y'all can come fight for me." So when they see who the boss is, Quillian, a vampire, they're like, "We ain't working for him." So Quillian takes one of the gangsters out. And he's all like, "Look, y'all can be next if you want." So now they have an army. And the army helps save Zarzakian and that of Fit. And so, like, after that, I already told you they're now working for Fit and Zarzakian. Gus is a weird, like, character. It's just weird how he never interacts with the rest of the group and stuff, and how he always does, like, this bad stuff. Now, they tried to redeem him in season 2. We're trying to help that family, but it's kind of like, now in my radar, he's not redeemed, because it's kind of like he is the cause of all this crap from season 1, and he's too much of, like, a bad person. but they really trying to like redeem him and stuff, especially as the series goes on. It's just strange. Like I always wonder what exactly is his purpose, because he even asked Quillian like, why me, man? Like why am I like the chosen one and everything? And Quillian tells him he's been trying to figure that out for like centuries. But what is he the chosen one of? Because I've watched this entire series, and he isn't the one who destroys all the vampires. He's not the one who does much of anything other than just his own storylines and stuff. I don't understand why what he's the chosen one of, you know what I'm saying? And so this is something just never really been explained and never really fleshed out. And I wish they would have fleshed it out better. I think his storyline is slightly different in the books, but not much has changed. He's still the same person he is on the show. And it's just kind of like, I don't know, man. It's just they really did not think his character through. Like you think he's more important than what he is, especially how he can actually fight hand to hand with vampires and rip their stingers out, their tongues. But he's just a character on the show who is like, messed up big time in season 1, and now they're trying to redeem. But it's like he still is just like a bad boy at heart and stuff. But he now is starting to have a heart of gold, but he's always getting people killed. He got his mom, his brother, his friends, and it's just like he's written very oddly and stuff. I don't understand that. Councilwoman Justine Fernalda. She is the councilwoman who is trying to eradicate that of the vampires. And she does a great job in getting rid of them on Staten Island. But she has no idea they're in other places and they're underground and stuff. And so, she has like, she's hard nosed, she's very confident. But she's written very rudely and everything. Like she is just mean the way how she talks to men. Like they wrote her not as a strong female character like with Dutch and Nora, but they wrote her in a modern day strong female character where every time she talks to men, she just berates them in front of everybody for no apparent reason. And I don't understand that. But then she's nice to all the females and stuff. And I hate when they write characters like that. It's not like Fit and F who always bickering one another. She's just nasty towards every man. But she is getting the job done. But then when it comes to the big battle in episode 9 has a different title sequence. Normally it has like a title card sequence, but this one has an actual intro. It's the only episode to do that for some bizarre reason. And this is the big battle of like, where they're at. I don't know where they're at. They might be in Manhattan. And so Idris, he brought over tons and tons of vampires on the ferry. Maybe they're still in Staten Island. I don't know. I don't know nothing about New York. I don't know nothing about New York and all the different cities and all the different towns. I don't know nothing. All right, I ain't from there. So it's the huge battle, and she convinced the townspeople, this is your city too, and you need to help out. And so she issued martial law at first, and this started to be a problem because they're starting to be they arrested a couple of people part of our like group and everything. But anyway, during the big battle, she realizes something. Holy crap, this is like thousands of vampires out there. Like she's way over her head. And like, she didn't realize that because they tried to warn her, like F and like Sarzaki and all, and they tried to warn her there are more vampires than you think. There are more than just that of Staten Island and everything else, and we can help you. And so she's just kind of like, she finally got a dose of like reality, and her little tough girl like went away fast. And the officer Mike, he's all like, look, we can get you away from here, far away with with the mayor and everything. She's like, what do you think I want to do, run? And he's all like, well, that's the way it sounds to me. And so she's like, no, give me that gun. And so I'm a fast learner and I can learn blah blah blah, but F has to teach her how to use the gun, and then the cop has to teach him even more. So in a way, they're shooting up vampires and everything like that. And Idris, he planned for this. He has the power grid turned off and everything. And so now it's up to our group to get the power back on. So Fit and Nora and all them, they're doing what they're doing. They get the power back on, and the UV lights come on, and boom, the vampires are taken out. Because of this, she is praised, but then the townspeople start to hate her. I think she tells the east side of Manhattan, I think, y'all need to start paying a tax. Like, to pay for the police officers who are saving your life. And they're all like, whoa, this is like a vampire apocalypse. Why we have to give our money to pay for cops' salaries and stuff? She's all like, because they're putting their lives on the line for you, and I need to pay them, because if I don't pay them, they ain't gonna like fight for you and stuff. So this pisses off everybody to where the mayor is all like, I'm calling for your resignation and blah, blah, blah. So they have like the meeting and all that stuff. But then at one point, the mayor has been taken out. When she tells her cop friend to like get the mayor out of here, next thing you know, the mayor shows up with a bullet in his head. She asked the officer, did he do it or did he pay somebody to do it? But he denies it and everything. Turns out, I don't know exactly who did it, but I think it might have been Palmer. But Palmer has the mayor underneath his fingertips. I don't understand why he did that. But then he tells the council lady, hey, how would you like to be the new mayor? I need a lady like you and everything like that, strong and get the job done and all this other stuff. So he's trying to control now that of the councilwoman. Zach is now played by a brand new actor. I still don't know why exactly they replaced him, but it turns out the original actor is now 18 years old. And The Strain was his last acting role. Maybe he gave up acting, maybe I don't know what. But the new dude, he fits more the profile of that of Zach in like the books and that in the rest of the series. A grumpy, pissed off kid and everything. So I remember the original Zach, he never really looked mean, even when he had to act mean. But maybe that's why they cast a new dude, because the new dude has that resting, like, grumpy look on his face and stuff. But Zach is really going through it. He still is upset over Kelly dying in season 1, his mom. And, he loved his mom. And he knows vampires are like, once they turn into vampires, they're gone. They're like drones, mindless drones. Their bodies are like reworked inside their organs and stuff like that. And they're monsters. But he thinks that maybe, just maybe, they can find a cure and everything to turn the vampires back to human. But his dad and all of them tells him, like, your mom is gone. There is no cure. Your organs are permanently like that and stuff. But Zach doesn't want to believe that. He thinks Tarzakian might be wrong and stuff. So Zach is going throughout the entire season grumpy and pissed off and just giving up on life and doesn't want to do nothing but listen to music and play video games. And, him and F, they're constantly getting into it and stuff. When Zach thinks they're making a cure, they're actually making a viral agent to kill the vampires. Zach is so pissed off that, he starts cussing his dad out, and he breaks all his lab equipment, which pisses his dad off. His dad literally grabs him, takes him face to face with a vampire, shoves his face into the vampire's face. The vampire has a muzzle on his face. It's all like, look, you see this? This is what your mom has become. She is gone. She is never turning back human and everything. And this, of course, scares Zach. So him and his dad have a rocky relationship. His dad tries to repair it by playing baseball, but it just reminds Zach when him and his mom used to play. Well, the master wants Kelly to get to that of Zach, to get, F off his, backside and everything. So he gives Kelly back her consciousness, and Idris teaches her how to doll herself up to look human again. And he tells her it takes a lot of practice and concentration, because you're constantly wanting to twitch your hands and your body, because the one thing about these vampires, they're constantly twitching and everything. They have to resist making that growling noise. They have to concentrate on like speaking coherent sentences and stuff. So it's a lot of mental stuff they have to go through, that Idris has to go through. And Idris acts as human can be, but he really has to focus, and he teaches Kelly that she has a bit of a harder time. Now, Kelly has her own children vampires of the blind kids that they turn. they are a lot faster than the adult ones and stuff. And so she wants Zach because even though she's gone, the master, this is what's so confusing about vampires and movies and TV shows. They say once you turn that you are now the monster. Your consciousness is now gone, and the monster knows all your memories and pretends to be you. I guess that's the case here, but she acts like normal as normal can be. But I guess if it's just the monster with her memories, then it's just trying to be the best version of her it can. So she wants Zach back badly. And she will not stop until she gets him. She takes some of his old dirty laundry and she gives it to the new children vampire so they can get the scent. And they spend the entire season tracking him down and everything. When they finally find him, Zach lets her into Fitz's place, and they tear up the whole place, and so she gets away. And so now their location has been found out, and the master now knows of it, so they're not safe there no more. Zach is making all the wrong choices by understanding his grief, but he needs to realize his mom is gone. And so now they're gonna set it up to where Zach lives with his grandparents out of town. And so like towards the end, Kelly does not like Nora at all. And she thinks she's trying to take Zach away from her. And just like she took her husband and stuff. And so at some point during the big battle towards the end, Zach willingly goes with Kelly and everything. And now Zach is gone and F is just like devastated. Nora is the medical assistant and second in command of that of trying to like help out with this virus and stuff. Her and F, they experiment on a vampire couple, an elderly couple turned into vampires to get a viral agent. Nora is the heart and soul of this show. She is the most compassionate one of the there is. She finds out Sarzakian's secret and stuff. She doesn't mention nothing about her dead mom from last season. It's almost like she didn't exist. But we find out in the flashback how her and F met. Basically, he was giving like a conference and she kept challenging him in his study research. And so we get to see the dude from last season who helped the vampires like take over and stuff, their friend. And so him and her never had like a relationship. They just constantly hung out. This pissed off Kelly to where Kelly filed for divorce because she felt that, because there's the thing, F is all like, me and you aren't together. And she's all like, don't you remember or something like that. She's all like, we might not be together, but we are very close. And then they start making out. And so it turns out that him and her had some type of affair when he was married to Kelly or something like that. It's a little hard to explain. I'll get into that a little bit later. But in a way, she is literally the heart and soul of this show, and she's very smart. And she can take out some vampires, especially with that sword of hers and like her gun. But she is a mother figure to Zach. She really helps take care of him, especially when F has to leave to Washington and they don't know if he's ever coming back. And she tells him, your son needs you. You basically left to go to Washington, and you might not have never came. But he's all like, but you told me to like leave him behind. But she's like, yeah, because it was too dangerous and stuff. But he needs his father and everything. Well, during the big battle towards the end, Kelly is trying to get to Zach, and boy, Nora is slashing and gashing. She is tearing Kelly up and shooting her and everything. And she is just whooping her with that sword. But then when she's getting ready to get the final strike, Zach, like the little punk that he is, tells her, don't you hurt my mother. So she turns around, and then that's when Kelly stung her, turning her into a vampire. Zach goes off, and then F meets up with Nora at her final minutes and stuff, telling him, like she always loved him, and like Zach went off with Kelly, and blah, 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 blah. And then of course she knows there's no help for her. So what does she do? She takes herself out in the most glorious fashion. She's down in the subway tunnels. She takes her sword. She tells F goodbye for one last time, and then she hits the third rail with her sword. There are sparks. She like electrocutes herself to death, and she takes herself out. I know I was so sad when I saw this, but then this explains something. See, season 3 is the season I started with, and there was no Nora. So when I started watching the series from the beginning, I'm all like, oh, who is this Nora lady and everything? And so she lasted all the way to the end of season 2. And I was like, man, it sucks to have her gone because she was a good actress. She was great diversity being a woman of color on the show. And she was very headstrong and very smart. And she could take those vampires out. So it sucked having to, like, lose her. So let's get to the last complicated person of this season, and that is F. F is a very interesting character. Like, he's a terrible human being, but they have you rooting for him because of all the good stuff he does. In season 1, he was terrible. In season 2, we found he's even more terrible. He's an alcoholic. He constantly cheats on people. He neglects his son a lot. Like when he went to Washington, there was no chance he was probably ever coming back until he was forced to. And, he's just an all around like terrible human being. But he is the man who is literally trying to save the world through that of science. And it's quite fascinating that, they flipped the script on him, trying to make people like him and stuff. But he's such a terrible person. At the end of season 1, when Kelly is turned, F went back to drinking. He drinks a lot this season, and I mean a lot. How much? Every scene he is in, he is drinking. But even though he's drunk, he still knows how to do stuff. But he has spiraled out of control and everything to where he is an alcoholic. This is how they should have had Tony in Iron Man 2 constantly drinking for the demon in the bottle storyline, but Disney would not go that far. But he is trying his best to find a cure. But he realized there can't be no cure. So when they go with Sarzakian to get some supplies, they see an old married couple in the storage unit. They get attacked by vampires and both of them get turned. As they're slowly turning, he realizes he needs this opportunity to start experimenting on a human subject that is slowly turning into a vampire. Nora does not want him to do this because it's cruel, but he's like, look, we need a viral agent. But he does not tell the old couple that, which pisses off Nora. She's all like, when are you going to tell them? He's all like, when they're near the point of turning, but he has to tell them sooner than later. And so he tells them that, and they have no choice but to be his lab experiments. And so he's doing things very similar to what was done to Zarzakian back in the Holocaust and stuff. And so he works on the viral agent, but it's working too quickly. But then they're finally able to get it to where it slows down. Basically what it is this. You know how like you have like bugs in your house, say like roaches or ants, and you buy those little pad things that has like food inside it, and the bug eats it, but it doesn't die unless they're stupid enough to stay inside it and constantly keep eating it. But what they do is that they eat it and then they go back to their nest and they infect the others. This is what this viral agent does. So they use it on the man who turned into a vampire because the first experiment they used killed his wife too soon, but it works on like the dude. So they follow it, and it's funny because the vampire doesn't want to go back to no other vampires. It just wants to go back to its loved ones, because when you turn into a vampire, your instinct is to find your loved ones. Why? So you can turn them. So later on, he goes back to like a nest where other vampires at, and it turns out they're all infected with these pussy boily things on their face. So he knows his experiment works, so he has to get to Washington DC. But the problem is his face is plastered all on the news, so he shaves his head and he heads to Washington DC. And when he's on the train, there's a problem. Barnes is on the train, the head of the CDC, who tried to have him arrested by the FBI and working for Dana Palmer and the Master. When they start to do ID checks, he is still drinking, and he gets to the back of the train only to spot Barnes. And Barnes is all like, look, man, we have to work for them. They throwing people off buildings and stuff. And so they fight and they struggle to the point where he throws Barnes off the train down into the ravine and he dies. And so he meets up with his friend, his contact in Washington, his like buddy and everything. His buddy has a female buddy. Well, next thing you know, F decides to cheat on Nora and bang his friend's female buddy. I was very shocked and surprised by this because you think F like Nora, you know what I'm saying? But he's drunk and he's drinking and he's just fornicating around and just like cheating and stuff. Well, there's an assassin on their trail. He kills the friend. He kills the lady friend. F fights the assassin and kills him. But the assassin took the research and like the vial agents and stuff like that. So F is back to square one. He heads back into town after getting shot in the shoulder. So Nora's all like, you're hiding something because you're acting different. Because F had purchased that of a rifle when he saved this one person's life. He plans on assassinating that of Palmer. So he finally tells, Nora what happened in Washington when he hooked up with that woman. So she is just like done with him. Because those two didn't even act like they was a couple this entire season. And so when he's talking to Dutch, she's always talking about sex. And she's all like, did you cheat on your wife with like Nora? And he said yes. But this is what's so strange. See, when him and her first met and they started like hanging out and being friends, Kelly served him with divorce papers and stuff. And Nora's all like, she's like upset about us. And he's like, there is no us. She's all like, but there is. So I don't know if they just had, like, they kept hanging out and he kept spending so much time with Nora to where it pissed Kelly off. Or he got so drunk he would black out when him and Nora did stuff. So it's one of those two. And so, like, he's trying to rebuild his relationship with that of, like, Zach, but it's not working. So anyways, after he tries to assassinate Palmer, he is caught. And when he's caught, he's in a holding cell. Well, the vampires come into the jail. It's bad for him because he's in the cell with the cop and the cop has been turned. So this cop is going to turn soon and there's vampires all over there. But he's saved by Fit and that of Sarzakian. And so after that, he goes to the councilwoman lady and he's all like, I can remake the viral agent, but I need to get to Washington, D.C. So I need some papers for me, Nora, and like Zach and everything. And some papers for Zach to get to his grandparents. Well, of course, like, stuff starts to like happen. And like, I actually forget what he does for the rest of the last couple of episodes. But then, what does he do? He does something. But I forget what. But anyways, he like, finds Nora. And I told you already she killed herself. So this season's a whole lot darker than that of the first, but we do get a lot more explanation as to certain things that are going on. So it's riveting and it's interesting. I just wish there was more action and more fighting vampire, but that 9th episode was nice and stuff. It just sucks when they constantly take them all out so fast with like bombs and UV lights, but it's still fun to see and everything. But yeah, this season is good. And the 3rd season's even better and stuff. Except for that 4th season. God, I hate that 4th season so much. That wasn't that spooky. Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.